You can't have a relationship without communication. Communication is a foundational block for a relationship. If you want God to begin to speak to you, if you want to develop an ability to hear God, you have to be positioned in a place where God speaks. But where does God speak? He speaks in the place where you minister to Him. He speaks to people that have not neglected or abandoned their priestly duty as priests unto the Lord. Now our sacrifice, Bible says that our body is a living sacrifice. Bible also says that our praise is a sacrifice unto Him. Bible also talks about that our prayers also can be sacrifice. Bible also lets us know that our giving, our financial giving is also can be a sacrifice. The Bible says, as they ministered to the Lord and fasted. Fasting is also a way of ministering to the Lord. So all of these things, they help us tune our dial to be able to hear God more clearly. Bi-weekly we have like our official services, and every other week in between we have our, what we call it, meet the team. And then we just go into this raw, authentic moment of worship, and Sam, our worship leader, he leads us into worship and just ministering to the Lord and just serving the Lord and pouring our hearts out. And when we had our first service, I just began to sense the presence of God begin to come in the room. The Lord began to speak to me about various people in that room. And while we were not planning to minister to people, the Lord began to speak and called out the first lady and said, I'm seeing something around your heart. I'm seeing your heart beating fast. And she began to confirm and said, yeah, I had this since my childhood. Doctors can't find a reason for it. I said, it's a demonic thing. I'll pray for you. And you will have your heart back. You will never struggle with that again. Begin to pray for her. And left her. She began to receive deliverance on her own. The word was released. 3 weeks later, she testified. And those of you that watched it, was a beautiful testimony that she shared. She was struggling with her heart for a long time, but in recent weeks, it started getting worse and worse. And the day of the service, when she was coming from her work, it was so bad that she thought she was having a heart attack, and she was just praying that she will have enough strength that she will not die, because she has a young son, 12-year-old son. And on that day when she came, we were just worshiping to the Lord, and the Lord located her. The Lord spoke to me about her issue. I wasn't even looking to minister. I was just lost in the ministry to the Lord. And God spoke, and she received freedom. And then another lady, also she will be testifying soon about her issues in her abdominal. Then there's a guy with the issue in his liver. He was on dialysis for a long time, and his liver barely is functioning. And then talked to another lady about her son, and so the Lord began to speak. But it all was birthed in the atmosphere of ministering to the Lord and worshiping. Holy Spirit spoke as they ministered to Him. I want to encourage you today to begin to cultivate the time of ministry to the Lord. Come back to those moments where it's just you and Lord, and you just worshiping Him. The other day, I was after we go to church for morning prayer. I was there with the people, and then I just felt like the Lord was wanting me to linger in a little bit longer and just stay with Him. So there's no people around. I can just focus on Him. Everybody left, and I just spent another hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours there, just being with the Lord, and just put on some worship music. And I didn't want anything from God. I just stayed there. And I went down on my knees, my face bowed before Him. and just for an hour or so, just laying or kneeling down with my face down, just worshiping and adoring him, ministering to him as the creator, as the God of the universe, exalting him, and just being in that environment, being in that presence. I wasn't there to receive the word from God. I wasn't there to hear something or anything, but I was just there spending time with him, honoring him and worshiping him, and just exalting him, and just creating this lifestyle of ministry to the Lord. Afterwards, just left, read the Bible, read a few other things that I wanted to read on, catch up on reading, and just left. The next morning, I had some people that I had to minister, and honestly, I didn't really have a time to pray and spend time with the Lord. And then I had these people come in one by one, and as I was ministering to them, and the Lord would speak to me about them, about their lives, and in shocking accuracy that I was even shocked. Revealing the root of the problems, they would confirm. And it's one thing to perceive information from a spiritual world, but it's a whole other thing when God speaks to you, because when he speaks, there's grace to bring solution. And then as I would speak, confirmations would come. And not only confirmations would come, but there's be grace to receive deliverance, healing, and bring practical solutions into the life of people. But when you cultivate a lifestyle of ministering to the Lord, oftentimes God will speak to you during the ministry, because he is God who loves to conversate. He is God that loves you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. How can you have a relationship when you can't speak to them? You can't have a relationship without communication. Communication is a foundational block for a relationship. So when you minister to the Lord, when you speak to him, when you adore him, he begins to speak back to you. But when you cultivate a lifestyle of ministering to the Lord, that even when you leave the altar, whether it's the altar is in your home, the altar is at church, whatever you pray, he begins to speak to you in the dreams. He begins to speak to you in the visions. He begins to speak to you in the random places.